Some betrayals don't start with a lie. They start with a laugh. His laugh. A short, sharp one. Almost amused. The very first time I questioned him. It was a Thursday night when it happened. I was sitting at our dining table sorting bills when I noticed something odd. 3 transaction alerts from the same location. A place I'd never heard of. A place he never mentioned. A place he insisted he didn't know. I held up the paper. Evan. What's this charge from Harbor Lane Storage? He looked at it, shrugged, and laughed. Actually laughed. Not a nervous laugh. Not a confused laugh. A laugh that said, "You're overthinking again." Then came the line he always used to shut me down. "You get so worried over nothing. It's adorable." Adorable. Like my concern was a joke. Like my instinct was something cute. Like my intelligence was something to pat on the head. I asked again, more firmly, "What storage? What are you keeping there?" He leaned in, kissed my forehead, and whispered, "Baby, you doubt me too much. Relax." That was it. No explanation, no details, no receipt. Just dismissal wrapped in affection. And the scary part? It worked. It always worked. For years, he'd used that same tone, gentle, patient, mocking, to make my questions feel unnecessary. But that night, something felt different. That laugh clung to me like a stain, mocking, smug, rehearsed. And for the rest of the evening, as he hummed while washing dishes, as he smiled at me across the living room, as he casually scrolled his phone, I kept replaying that moment. Because people who have nothing to hide don't laugh when you ask about something simple. People hide when they're nervous. They explain when they care. They get defensive when caught. But Evan? He laughed. Because he believed I was predictable. He believed I'd drop it. He believed my doubts were small and easy to brush away. But he didn't know something important. His laugh didn't erase my instinct. It triggered it. And that one tiny mocking sound was the reason I discovered the life he'd been hiding from me for months. Evan wasn't the loud, explosive type. He wasn't aggressive. He didn't yell or slam doors. He was much, much worse. He was calm, patient, soft-spoken, and he used that softness like a weapon. Whenever I questioned a detail, he'd sigh lightly and respond with lines like, "You're overthinking again. You mix things up, sweetheart. You always stress yourself for nothing. You probably saw it wrong. You're remembering the wrong day." Never angry, never rude, just gently dismissive. He made me feel like I was the unstable one, like I was the forgetful one, like I was the overly emotional one. And every time he soothed me with that quiet voice, I swallowed my doubt and said nothing. It wasn't until later that I realized what he was doing. He wasn't being gentle. He was conditioning me, teaching me not to trust myself, teaching me not to question him, teaching me that my concerns were insignificant, my instincts flawed, my intelligence unreliable. He trained me to doubt myself, while he kept every part of his life perfectly intact. Friends adored him. Co-workers respected him. My mother praised him. People would say, "You're lucky. Men like him are rare." Yes, rare indeed. Rare because manipulation wrapped in kindness is harder to detect than manipulation wrapped in anger. And to everyone else, Evan was perfect, reliable, funny, charming, generous. But at home, he was a master at making truth feel like imagination. And every time he laughed off my concern, every time he called my doubts cute, every time he leaned in and said, "Relax," I pushed the discomfort deeper, until that receipt appeared, until his laugh slipped, until his mask cracked for a moment, long enough for me to see something cold behind those smiling eyes. A man who wasn't confused, a man who wasn't innocent, a man who knew exactly what he was hiding, a man who believed I'd never have the courage to look. He was wrong. Because the moment he mocked my doubts was the moment I decided to follow them. The very next morning after Evan left for work, I sat at the kitchen table with the receipt in front of me. Harbor Lane Storage, Unit 39. My hands shook. Storage units aren't romantic. They aren't suspicious by default, but they are deliberate. No one rents one accidentally, especially not someone who tells you everything about his life, or pretends to. I typed the address into my phone. 8 miles away, in a quiet industrial area. No restaurants, no shops, nothing nearby. I stared at the map for a long time. Then I grabbed my keys. When I arrived, the place was nearly empty. Rows of metal doors, each with a number. A manager sitting behind bulletproof glass. "Hi," I said, trying to sound casual. "My husband left something here and he's at work. Can I check the unit for him?" "What's the unit number?" she asked. 39. She typed something into her computer. Her eyebrows lifted slightly. "He's been renting that one for 6 months." 6 months. He never told me. "Is something wrong?" she asked. "No," I said, shaking my head. "I just need to grab something quickly." "Sure, here's the temporary key." My heart hammered as I walked down the row. Past Unit 12, Unit 19, Unit 27. Then I saw it, Unit 39. My fingers trembled as I slid the key in, turned it, lifted the door, and then I froze. Inside were boxes, dozens of them, neatly stacked, labeled with dates. June, July, August, September, October, 6 months. I stepped inside slowly, scanning each box. What I found inside made my stomach twist. Box after box filled with receipts, documents, phone bills, unused gifts, letters, photos from vacations I never went on, cards for holidays I didn't know he celebrated, and then the worst part, a drawer full of keys. Keys that weren't ours, keys I didn't recognize, keys to what? Apartments? Cars? Lockers? One key had a tag on it, Friday, 8 p.m. My breathing stopped. Friday was boys' night. Another key. Break in case needed. Break what? Break who? Another spare. Don't forget story. Story. Everything was a story to him. One lie after another, each organized with terrifying precision. I backed away slowly, shaking. Because in that moment, I realized something. Evan didn't have a secret. He had a system. And I wasn't dealing with a man confused about his feelings. I was dealing with a man who curated his entire life to keep me believing a version of him that never existed. I sat on the cold concrete floor of that storage unit and opened every box one by one. Each one was worse than the last. Box A, text messages printed and organized with notes like, say meeting ran late. Use tired excuse. Remember her birthday detail. Don't mix up stories. He had scripts, not casual lies, rehearsed ones. Box B, receipts from restaurants he never mentioned, some dinners for 2, some for 3, some in neighborhoods he told me he never went to, dates highlighted. Box C, cards. With handwriting not mine, messages like, "Thank you for last night. Can't wait to see you again. You're so good at hiding." I felt lightheaded. Box D, photos. Him with a woman at a concert, him at the beach, him celebrating someone's birthday. But here was the part that broke me. In every photo, he smiled the same way he smiled at me. The same soft eyes, the same gentle posture, the same innocent expression. He used the same version of himself for every woman he saw, not because he loved them, but because it was his character, his role, his performance. Box E, gifts, jewelry, scarves, perfume, neatly labeled for M, for S, for K. Initials I didn't recognize. He had plans, he had timelines, he had routines, all hidden perfectly until that storage receipt slipped into my hands. Then I found the final box, Box F. Inside it were journals, his journals. I opened the first one, page after page of, need to keep her calm, don't let her ask questions. She buys gentle tone easily, mock her doubts just enough to make her smile. Mock her doubts, mock her doubts. His handwriting, his words, his instructions to himself. My heart felt like it was splitting apart, because this wasn't cheating, this wasn't a mistake, this wasn't emotional confusion, this was psychological control. He wasn't just lying to me, he was studying me. And the worst part? It worked. For months, it worked. Until he got lazy, until he laughed, until he underestimated me, and now I held every secret he ever buried, every lie, every plan, every detail, and I knew exactly what to do with it. Men like Evan survive because their lies never meet, their worlds never collide, their stories never cross paths. So I changed that. I took photos of every document, scanned all his journals, copied his scripts, collected every piece of evidence. Then I contacted the names attached to every receipt, card, and message. Not angrily, not emotionally, just honestly. "Hi, I think we should talk. I believe we know the same man." 4 women responded, all with the same confusion, all with the same soft version of Evan, all with the same belief that they were special to him. And when they saw the evidence, they cried, they apologized, they shared their stories. Each story matched the scripts he wrote, word for word. He told one woman he was divorcing me. He told another he was supporting a mentally unstable wife. He told a third he was choosing her soon. He told a fourth he was working overseas soon. He turned each of us into characters in his own narrative, but he forgot the rule of stories. When characters meet, the plot collapses. So I arranged a meeting, a neutral cafe, Saturday afternoon, a long table. I invited all 4 women, his mother, his sister, my best friend, everyone who believed him, everyone he manipulated. Then I invited Evan. He walked in smiling, holding a small gift bag. When he saw the table full of faces, every woman he lied to, every family member he wanted to impress, his smile dissolved. What is this?" he whispered. I slid his journals across the table. "Your stories," I said quietly. He swallowed hard. "Maya, let's go outside." "No," I said calmly. "You don't get to do this privately anymore." Melissa spoke first. "You told me she was violent," she said, pointing at me. "You said you were scared of her." Sandra added, "You told us you traveled every Friday. You were with me on Fridays." His mother looked horrified. "Is this true, Evan?" He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. I placed my recordings on the table. His voice mocking my doubts, his voice rehearsing lies, his voice planning stories, his face drained of color. He whispered, "Maya, please, don't do this." I leaned back. "You already did." The room was silent. Evan stared at the table as if everything on it was on fire. He reached for me. I stepped back. For the first time ever, his voice trembled. "I didn't mean to hurt you." I let out a slow breath. "You didn't hurt me by accident, Evan. You hurt me on purpose. You mocked me. You wrote scripts about me. You studied how to dismiss me. You played with my doubts because it was convenient." He shut his eyes. "I can fix this." "You can't fix a system built on lies," I said calmly. The women spoke next. "You said we were your future. You said you lived alone. You said she cheated. You said she hit you. You said she was unstable." His mother gasped. "You used her mental health? You used her kindness?" Evan sank into his chair, his hands trembling, his breath shallow. "Maya, please don't leave me." I slid the divorce papers across the table. "I left you the moment I opened that storage unit." He looked around at every person he manipulated, every life he twisted, and for the first time in our entire relationship, he didn't look innocent. He looked exposed, unmasked, small. He whispered, "I thought you'd never look." I nodded. "That's because you mistook silence for stupidity." He covered his face with his hands. His world, the world he curated so carefully, had collapsed. Not because I screamed, not because I threatened, but because I found the truth he spent months hiding, and I did it calmly, quietly, strategically. The same way he manipulated me was the same way I dismantled him. I walked out of that cafe lighter than I'd felt in years. My hands weren't shaking. My voice wasn't weak. My heart wasn't broken. It was free. My family embraced me. The women hugged me. His mother apologized, crying. His sister held my hand. Evan stayed inside, face in his palms, finally forced to confront the man he truly was. In the days that followed, I packed my things, moved into my sister's house, filed the documents. He sent long messages, voicemails, essays trying to explain. I didn't read a single one, because the truth didn't come from him. It came from what he hid. And once the truth is revealed, closure becomes unnecessary. I slept better, ate better, laughed more, breathed more. Life finally felt like mine again. People think betrayal destroys trust, but it actually rebuilds something more important: clarity. I learned that manipulation doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it laughs. Sometimes it sounds like reassurance. Relax. You're overthinking. You misremembered. You doubt too much. No, I didn't doubt too much. I doubted just enough. We're taught to ignore our instincts to keep the peace, to avoid conflict, to stay agreeable. But instincts exist for a reason, and mine saved me. Evan hid things for months, maybe years, because he believed I'd never look, because he believed mocking my doubts was enough to silence them. But doubt is not weakness. Doubt is awareness. Doubt is survival. And if you're listening to this, don't let anyone shame you for questioning what feels wrong, because the truth always leaves a trail. And the moment you follow it, everyone who mocked your doubts will finally face theirs.